Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thank you to the organizing committee for putting this together, inviting me to participate, and the kind folks of DC for creating safe space for us to congregate, demonstrate, educate, and celebrate with one another. As we march today, I want to take a moment to remember the transgender, bisexual, gay, lesbian, and queer lives that cannot be with us here today. Let us continue our work to end HIV/AIDS and its stigma, to end violence against the transgender community by valuing and centering the lives of trans women of color and femmes of color, the most marginalized group within our community, and yet the very people who have long been our movement leaders. Let us honor those we have lost through tragedies like Pulse, which we will be remembering tomorrow on its one-year anniversary. I am here today as a proud Mexican, Irish, American, bisexual, queer woman, and I am for this intersectional movement for equality, unity, and pride. The lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus communities stand for equal rights has never been about just one person, one lived experience, or one identity. Our struggles are shared, and our resilience unrelenting. I am grateful to our bisexual leaders who have marched and protested and organized for the LGBTQ plus community, from Sylvia Rivera at Stonewall to Brenda Howard, who in 1970 organized the Christopher Street Liberation Day March that inspired the creation of annual pride parades across the world. From local bisexual icons like Lorraine Hutchins. Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thank you to the organizing committee for putting this together, inviting me to participate, and the kind folks of DC for creating safe space for us to congregate, demonstrate, educate, and celebrate with one another. As we march today, I want to take a moment to remember the transgender, bisexual, gay, lesbian, and queer lives that cannot be with us here today. Let us continue our work to end HIV/AIDS and its stigma, to end violence against the transgender community by valuing and centering the lives of trans women of color and femmes of color, the most marginalized group within our community, and yet the very people who have long been our movement leaders. Let us honor those we have lost through tragedies like Pulse, which we will be remembering tomorrow on its one-year anniversary. I am here today as a proud Mexican, Irish, American, bisexual, queer woman, and I am for this intersectional movement for equality, unity, and pride. The lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus communities stand for equal rights has never been about just one person, one lived experience, or one identity. Our struggles are shared, and our resilience unrelenting. I am grateful to our bisexual leaders who have marched and protested and organized for the LGBTQ plus community, from Sylvia Rivera at Stonewall to Brenda Howard, who in 1970 organized the Christopher Street Liberation Day March that inspired the creation of annual pride parades across the world. From local bisexual icons like Lorraine Hutchins to A. Billy S. Jones-Hennon, from Stephen Donaldson, who founded the first ever student gay rights group at Columbia University in 1967, to bisexual activist Lani Ka'ahumanu, one of the key organizers of the 1993 March on Washington, the only bisexual to speak at the event, and who marched alongside Harvey Milk for our rights. Those of us who love more than one sex and or gender use many different labels, but we share a common experience. Our presence makes people uncomfortable. We exist in gray areas, areas that if folks sometimes deem as not gay enough or not straight enough. If we are in monogamous relationships, we are viewed as having chosen a side. If we are polyamorous, we are seen as being damaging to the cause. Our very existence threatens heteronormativity and the gender binary. The bisexual plus community has long recognized our intersections with the most marginalized groups within the LGBTQ plus community. We are bisexual, pansexual, asexual, intersex, trans, non-binary, bigender, agender, two-spirit, old, young, black, brown, indigenous, Asian Pacific Islander, poor, disabled, immigrants, undocumented, asylum seekers. And whether it pertained to race, age, your chosen label, your gender identity, or any other perceived disparity, we have stood in solidarity with you. We ask you to stand in solidarity with us. Based on recently published reports from organizations like the CDC, the National Institute of Health, and the Movement Advancement Project, bisexuals now have higher rates of mental illness, sexual assault, domestic violence, and poverty than gays. The LGBTQ plus population, but receives less than 1% of funding. This needs to change. We are in a unique position to create change through education, but we cannot do it alone. If you have conflicts surrounding bisexuals and all other non-monosexual identities, I ask that you face them in order to create solidarity. And do not stop there. Stand up against biphobia and bi-erasure. Let's face and end the transphobia, the sexism, and racism that plagues our community. Let's make meaningful investments in LGBTQ people of color in leadership roles. Stand with and for us as we continue standing with and for you. It is vital to our community, particularly our youth, to see themselves reflected positively. Instead of dictating their stories to them, it is so vital that we teach them to be the custodians of their own narratives. More than 20% of millennials now identify as LGBTQ, and they need our support, and we need to listen to them. We need to shut up and listen to them. With dual upbringings in Philadelphia and Atlanta, our next speaker is a 2017 True Colors Fund 40 of the 40 honoree, as well as the 2017 True Colors Fund True Production Fellow. In spite of her former experiences of housing instability, she prides herself on always setting goals and priorities and successfully implementing them. As a Black transgender woman, she stands firm in her purpose as a student, musician, and community health worker at Us Helping Us People into Living, Inc. As the 2017 True Production Fellow, she will work alongside True Colors Fund staff to plan and execute the 4th annual 40 to None Summit, a convening that brings together amazing people from around the country that work to end LGBTQ youth homelessness. In her words, "The way my life has transitioned, I found myself becoming stronger in my advocacy through the talents that I possess. I feel that I was placed here on this earth to advocate the best way I can, and I allow God to guide to where that path may lead." Please give a warm welcome to Aurora Lloyd.
Good afternoon. You guys look so beautiful. Can y'all make some more noise? Just one more time for me. Yes. Yes. So thank you again, Sada. Thank you so much. And as Sada said, my name is Aurora Lloyd. I am a musician, an activist, an advocate, a Black trans woman, and I was homeless. Did you know 40% of our youth experiencing homelessness identify as LGBTQIA? Until literally about this top of the year this year, I was a part of that 40%. And it wasn't until I moved into my own apartment that I realized I had just overcome homelessness. You see, we think what homelessness looks like is the people we see on the streets that are on the curbsides fighting to get into shelters. But as youth, that's not our reality. Our reality is best friends' couches, family members that are not our parents, couches and beds, and sometimes even our lovers. And for a long time, I spent month to month just hopping from couch to couch, from bed to bed, trying to find a home. Sorry, just taking that in. It's been a long, long road to get here, and you guys have no idea, and I'm so appreciative to be allowed to say that. You know, being a youth, you have to trust that whomever you're staying with doesn't go around saying, oh, Aurora, she's homeless, so she has to stay with me right now. No, it's more sounding like, oh, Aurora's just crashing on our couch for a couple of days. So it sounds more like a sleepover as opposed to someone who doesn't have any home to go to. Like I said, there is a crisis. 40% is a huge number. There are programs that have been built to help us deal with this in facing housing instability and homelessness, but we need more than just crisis responses. To truly end homelessness, we need to prevent it from happening in the first place, and we need long-term solutions and strategies. And most important, these solutions need to come from us, the youth that is experiencing this. Not anyone else, not the friend of the youth, not their parent, not their cousin, us. Some of the solutions, I think, we should try to make a thing, and from what I've heard, there are places that do this, is like hosting your home, going through trainings and evaluations prior to understanding what it means to host a home for an LGBTQIA youth. And if you qualify, giving them a home, opening up spaces, since we clearly see that sometimes us staying in a shelter is even more damaging. So personally, one of the ways that I am actually making this happen is being a part of the team of True Colors Fund, the fellowship program that has allowed me to co-produce the 2017 40 to None Summit. The summit is the only national conference that focuses on LGBTQ youth homelessness, and we are bringing people together from all around the world to learn from each other, and most importantly, to learn from us, the youth. So, as we move forward and we press on in understanding what the reality of homelessness is, we have to do something. We have to work together. We have to make a change. We can't stand here and be stagnant. The one thing I always tell people is it's not, we have to get rid of the statement, the redundant statement of, I want to help. Just go and help. Figure out what your talent is. Figure out how you can help and be able to help. You don't have to be me and do what I'm doing to help. Figure out what you can do best and how you can apply to help anyone. Let's work together. Let's change this. Let's end LGBTQIA youth homelessness. Thank you.